Strap in, buckle up, and get ready to lay it on the line. This is Not Speeding, Just Qualifying, a podcast that's just as fast as it sounds. Hello, everybody. Welcome to an all-new episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. I'm your host, David Lawrence. Thank you guys so much for putting us in your ears today. Before we get started, your usual reminder, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube Music. We got a nice little section of the podcast app there for you. Make sure you subscribe so that way whenever we drop new content, you will not miss anything. It's been a fun and busy weekend of racing across the globe, and we got a lot to recap. So this is going to be one of your full up to TEMP episodes. Let's go ahead. Let's get started. We're going to start on two wheels. We're going to start in Daytona. AMA Daytona Supercross, one of the biggest events of the Supercross season. We'll start with round 3 of the 250 East Championship. The feature race started off with fireworks. Tom Vialle of France, Max Anstey, the top two in the championship, collide off the hole shot. Anstey goes down. He does rebound to eventually a 6th place finish. The big accident of the night, Levi Kitchen halfway through, falling off his bike after missing the jump big time, causing a red flag. RJ Hampshire was the leader at the time. On a staggered restart, Hampshire holds off Vialle, pulls away, takes the win, with Vialle second, Seth Hamaker finishing third. Then it was on to round 8 of the 450 championship. KTM rider Aaron Plessinger got the early lead. However, he was caught and passed by Ken Roczen. Roczen pulled away, did not look back. Roczen takes the win at Daytona, his first win of the season. Cooper Webb finished second to extend his championship lead as Aaron Plessinger overtook teammate Chase Sexton in the last 2 minutes to get his first podium of the season in third. Series AMA Supercross is off to Indianapolis on Saturday night, March 8th. Which will feature the first of 3 East-West combined events for the 250 championship. You will see all the action live streaming on Peacock. Keeping with the two wheels, let's head over to Asia. MotoGP opening weekend, the Grand Prix of Thailand, and it was a weekend of domination from Marc Marquez. Won the pole, won the sprint on Saturday. However, things got a little weird on lap 7 of the race. A weird issue struck him, lost the lead to little brother Alex. The race turned into a duel between the two Marquez brothers. Alex didn't lay down, give him credit. He was up to the challenge, but with 3 laps to go, Mark snuck inside of Alex at the final corner and took the lead for good. Mark leading home a Marquez 1-2 finish over little brother. Mark's new teammate, 2-time world champion Pecco Bagnaia, finishing third as Ducati goes 1-2-3-4 to open the season. Shout out to Moto2 winner Manuel Gonzalez and Moto3 winner Jose Antonio Rueda. The MotoGP World Championship heads to Argentina for round 2 of the championship. The Grand Prix of Argentina is taking place on March 16th. From Asia, we head to the Middle East. World Endurance Championship holding their opening round of the championship, the 1,812 kilometers of Qatar. It was quite the eventful opening round of the championship. Multiple incidents. The most bizarre of the race happened when the two Hertz Team Yoda Cadillac hypercars collided, causing damage to both vehicles, effectively taking them out of contention. However, this race belonged to Ferrari. They led all but 8 laps on the night. Nothing, not even the race being cut short due to reaching the 10-hour time limit, could stop Ferrari from achieving a massive 1-2-3 finish. It was the number 50 Ferrari AF Course 499, Nicholas Nielsen, Miguel Molina, and Antonio Fuoco taking the victory over the number 83 AF Course of the private entered 499, and then the second Ferrari AF Course 499, number 51, rounding out the podium in third. In LMGT3, it was the first win in the World Endurance Championship for the GT3 Spec Corvette, with TF Sport, the number 33, Ben Keating, Johnny Edgar, and Daniel Juncadella. Juncadella had to hold off the number 59 Yamaha Autosports McLaren, driven by France's Gregoire Saucy, to take the victory, with the number 31 WRT BMW rounding out the podium. The World Endurance Championship teams and drivers will get their items back to Europe for a nice little rest. They will race again for round 2, the 6 hours of Imola, Sunday, April 20th. Now let's bring it back stateside. The NTT IndyCar Series kicking off their 2025 championship on the streets of St. Petersburg, and it got eventful early. Turn 3, lap 1, Will Power, Nolan Siegel, rookie Louis Foster, all involved, and the yellow actually turned the race into strategy as some teams decided to go ahead and get off their alternate tires and get onto their primary tires, and boy, did it turn the race on its head. Buzzword of the race, tire conservation, especially on the green alternative tire. Scott McLaughlin, who won the pole on Saturday, dominated the opening half of the race. However, when he got on the option tire, his car immediately became ill-handling. He only lasted 12 laps, and the switch of strategy meant that McLaughlin essentially had his hopes for victory thwarted after he pitted on lap 43, basically throwing him behind the rest of his contenders. McLaughlin did end up finishing the day in 4th. However, it was Alex Palou and his number 10 team on the final pit stop, calling the strategy right, undercutting his rivals to maximize his gap on the fresh rubber. However, it wasn't all that easy, as he had to hold off a hard-charging Joseph Newgarden over the course of the final 15 laps. However, with 5 laps to go, his tires began losing grip and then fell into the clutches of Scott Dixon, and it turns out the tires weren't the only thing that was gone on Newgarden's car. On the final lap, Newgarden ran out of fuel, allowing Scott Dixon to pass him going into turn 10 with a few corners to go, giving Chip Ganassi Racing a 1-2 finish as defending series champ Alex Palou kicks off his championship defense in his quest for a 3rd straight title with a win in the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. As mentioned, Dixon second, and despite running out of fuel, Newgarden held off to round out the podium. The NTT IndyCar Series heads west to California for the Thermal IndyCar Grand Prix Sunday, March 23rd. And finally, we end up with NASCAR at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Saturday, the NASCAR Xfinity Series held the Focus Health 250, and the name of the day, Connor Zellage, starting from pole, but he was not up front the entire time. Had to overcome a penalty in stage 1 for a pit road violation. He had to drive through the field, got back to the front, but at the end of the race had to hold off Daytona 500 champion William Byron to secure his 2nd career Xfinity Series win. On Sunday, the Echo Park Grand Prix, Kyle Busch had quite the performance, and he was looking a lot like JGR Kyle Busch all over again. However, the tires just didn't hold up in the final stages of the race. Busch slid back, eventually finished 5th. The race, meanwhile, came down to a last lap 3-way duel between Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Tyler Reddick. All the way up to the final turn, you really didn't know who was going to win. Bell, getting defensive, trying to outsmart Byron, got the drive off the final corner and held off the Daytona 500 champion. Christopher Bell wins for the second consecutive week, his first win at Coda. Byron second place for the second day in a row. Tyler Reddick, who won the pole, finishing 3rd. Chase Elliott 4th, and the aforementioned Kyle Busch finishing 5th. NASCAR, Xfinity, and Cup Series are off to Phoenix next weekend, March 8th and 9th. In addition to the headline events of the weekend, there were plenty of support races on the bill. I want to take a little bit of time to highlight those before we wrap up the show today. In St. Pete, the Mazda MX-5 Cup was racing alongside the NTT IndyCar Series. And just like in Daytona, splitting the races, Jared Thomas and Tyler Gonzalez, just they did it in opposite races. Thomas the winner in race 1, Tyler Gonzalez victorious in race 2. Staying in St. Pete, the Firestone Indy Next Championship also kicked off their season this weekend, and fresh off his stint in Formula 2, Norway's Dennis Hauge showed the IndyCar paddock that he will be a force to be reckoned with throughout the season as he took victory on his Indy Next debut. Lastly, supporting the NASCAR weekend at Circuit of the Americas was the IMSA VP Sports Car Challenge. They did 2 45-minute races over the Austin weekend. In race 1, Jonathan Woolrich took overall and P3 honors, Jake Walker for Turner Motorsports taking the victory in GTDX, and Kiko Porto taking the victory in his Toyota Supra in GSX. In race 2, it was Valentino Catalano taking the victory for LMP3 and overall. Jake Walker swept the weekend in GTDX, and in GSX, victory went to Ian Porter as Rafa Racing taking the weekend sweep in their Toyota Supras. The IMSA VP Sports Car Challenge goes into hiatus until June. The series reconvenes June 6th through 8th at Mid-Ohio. As for the Firestone Indy Next Series and the Will & Mazda MX-5 Cup, they both have 2-month vacations. Their next round will be in Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park, May 2nd through the 4th. All right, everyone, your tires are up to temp, and that will bring us to the end of another lightning quick episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. I know, time flies when you love what you do and you're talking about one of your favorite subjects in the world, am I right? Thank you guys so much for listening to us again. Follow us on social media. We are on X, IG, and Blue Sky at the handle NSJQ Podcast. You can also, again, subscribe to us on YouTube and YouTube Music. Make sure you subscribe. When you do, like and share the episodes so others can find us. Also, if you like what you hear, leave a comment underneath the show. We love when you guys interact with us. Please and thank you. Last but not least, if you want to follow me on my personal social media handles, I will leave the handles to those in the description box below this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. We'll have another episode this week. We got a lot of news to talk about, and I want to tell you guys about probably the biggest race you've never heard of. Until then, I'm David Lawrence. Thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, you're not living life to the fullest until you're going flat out. So long, everyone.